So the last time we were chatting, Pauric, we were saying, if anybody wanted to make a suggestion
Mhm.
on a conversation that they'd like us to have, to talk about, um, and you had something recently that came up that a dad was asked you about.
Yeah, I was talking to someone. They had their baby recently, and we just happened then to have a conversation about what it's like to be the dad or the birthing partner in the birthing room, because I know like they had prepared pretty well, but he felt the same as I felt back when we had our baby, that it's a whole other thing when you get in there. And he said his main feeling was he kind of wanted at one point to put everybody out of the room and just be like, right, this has to end. This is ridiculous. This woman shouldn't have to go through all that. So just maybe, I'm sure that if the two of us have had that kind of experience, I'm sure we're not the only ones. So people might want to hear a little bit about it, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. So, for anybody that's tuning in for the first time, this is the Dad and Doula chat.
I'm Pauric and I'm the dad.
And I'm Michelle, and I'm a postnatal doula. And we're here to have dads that are dads that are here to have chats that are just for dads. I mean, we're not saying that mums can't listen to our
No,
chats. Everybody's
not at
welcome,
all.
but it's always going to be focused from a dad's perspective and supporting men and fathers on
Mhm.
their journey. So let's unpick this and see, for him, for other dads, for anybody listening or watching, what you can do differently, or what other, how you can better prepare for that journey in the birthing suite or the birthing room, or even for a home birth, even though sometimes I do think that people maybe are a little bit more prepared for a home birth.
Mhm.
um I mean, there is the option also to have a birth doula coming in to support you as well. And I want to make sure that people know that it's not, when a birth doula supports a couple, it's not about pushing the partner to the side in any way. It's about supporting both of them. But the biggest thing probably is that the communication, and we've talked about this before, Porrick, and because we would have talked about it also in the Dads to Be masterclass, and being
Mhm.
on the same page. And I know you had talked about the affirmations,
Yeah.
that your wife had these affirmations, and like you weren't really like on the page with them, but then after the class it was kind of like, okay, I need to do this. And so do you think that because you started using those affirmations in your home, to support your wife and prepare for that journey, do you think then using them pre-birth, being in that birthing suite
Mhm.
and being in the birthing suite, did they help you?
Yeah, they definitely did. It kind of comes back a little bit to when people do mindfulness about grounding. They kind of became like little grounding phrases. But yeah, about say 2 months or so before the baby arrived, these little you know post-its kind of started appearing all around the house, and I wasn't sure exactly what they were for at that stage. And then when I kind of got into reading the book on the hypnobirthing, which was part of my wife's plan, the affirmations, then we're like, okay, now I see why these are so important. And part of even that plan, we had the book we read, there was like a page long sort of guided meditation type piece. So from about say 2 months out, 6 weeks out, we would read it together every night. So then when we actually got to the day and we were in the birthing room, I was able to kind of use pieces of it, to just to help ground her, ground myself as well, which is I suppose really what we're talking about. Um, because we had done it at home, and that's a safe space that we were comfortable in. So just to kind of bring a little bit of that with us into what could be potentially like quite chaotic, because there's a lot happening and it's very emotional and uh, physically draining and emotionally draining. But to have those little things just to ground you, just to bring you back, and the hypnobirthing was. I would advocate for it. If you've never heard of it, definitely look into it, because I think it really helped us. We were both on the same page then when the day came. Because it's one of those things that people might kind of go, oh, that kind of stuff, but really, I think it helped so much. Like, my wife was so like tuned in. Even like one of the midwives was just saying how she was like, she's able to sleep between contractions. She's so calm, and like, that's the work that was put in, before we arrived here.
Yeah. And so you feel that the hypnobirthing wasn't just a benefit for your wife, but also for you, and grounding you and connecting both of you at those,
Yeah.
for those hours, because it's not
Hmm.
like, we're not talking about, I mean, some people can be really, really lucky and have very,
Hmm.
have short labors, but the majority of time we're talking 12 to 24, even 36 hours.
Hmm.
Um, you felt that the hypnobirthing, did you go to a class, or was it like an online, or was it just that you had an app or something?
Well, we had read the book, Your Baby, Your Birth, Holly de Cruz.
Yeah.
That's a free plug for her. And I suppose at that stage there's no in-person classes for everything because of the pandemic. Everything was sort of shut down. But it reminded me of different sort of, I suppose, mindfulness things that I had done. So I kind of, once she introduced me to it, I kind of got with the program. But as much as grounding her, I felt it grounded me. But it also but it gave me something to do, but like an important thing to do. Um, because the way I've talked about it, on some of our Saturday mornings and with people, is like, the analogy I used was like a team preparing for like a cup final, and everybody's got to be on the same page. And there's no point one person going out doing all the hard work and then somebody shows up on the day. You're not going to really be beneficial. You're probably going to be more in the way than anything else. So, having something like that to work on together for, as I say, 6 weeks or 2 months beforehand, something very simple. It only, like, that passage was maybe 5 minutes would read it, and that's just reading it at a nice sort of steady pace, calm, and breathing through it and everything else. And for me, I was like, if anybody ever mentions that kind of thing of where you can be useful in a birthing room, something like that is definitely, it's so easy to do, and it's something you can do together, and it gives you that connection when you're in the room. Because I think the labor was 12 hours, 13 hours. Obviously, as you say, people have a lot longer, but there's lots of very well trained medical people are in and out the whole time. There's just the two of you in the room. Everybody else is in and out, and they're looking after all these other people. So it's just nice to have a thing, even when it's just the two of you, to just kind of talk through it and settle everything down again and concentrate on the job in hand, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think probably another thing that's really, really important is being aware of what it is that your partner was. So you were saying that dad was saying, this woman has done enough, it's enough. But was he fully aware of actually what her wishes were? And we've had conversations with dads before who kind of couldn't cope with it and were begging their partners to have
Mhm.
epidurals when they didn't want to, or the opposite, going, look, you can do this, you don't need the epidural,
Mhm.
when she wants that. So it's that having that complete conversation and sitting down and
Yeah.
actually knowing and being mindful of the fact that this is her body and her choices as
Mhm.
well. I think that's really, really important for the men to be aware of. And that, if you know exactly what your partner's wishes are.
Yeah.
I know you had said before that the birth plan for you, and I know it was very extensive, and there was a lot of work put into that, because
Yeah.
your wife had looked at each different scenario, so she had exactly how she would like things to go. And then it was, if
Mhm.
I end up having to be induced, this, if
This
I
is what I
end
want
up
then. Mhm.
needing an instrumental or an episiotomy or a C-section, or if I do end up taking the epidural, this is how I would
Mhm.
like things to be. And so it was a really, really well thought out. I know a lot of the mums on our bump and baby meets, that she has shared
Mhm.
her
Yeah.
birth plan with it. But you had obviously so in order for you to be able to feel calm, had been and gone through that birth plan with her and understood exactly what her wishes were.
Yeah, like there was definitely, I'm trying to remember it back now, but there was definitely sort of a couple of red line things, So maybe I didn't remember every single bit of it. Now we had it up on the walls
Yeah.
around, so as those shift changes were happening, they, in fairness, every new nurse or midwife that came in, they all looked at it. They were aware, okay, this is what the plan is here. So just like, yeah, to knowing the plan probably helped keep the emotions in check, because there is a point where you're seeing this person you care about clearly going through a massive amount of pain, and it would be very easy to say, just give her all the drugs and get this out, get this pain over with. But I know from talking to that fella, like, that they had that plan as well, like where they were trying to not use drugs and so on, to keep as natural as was safely possible, I guess, is the way to maybe to think about it. But yeah, to know that plan, even if you don't know every single in and out of it, but to know the things that are definite, like,
Very important.
yeah.
Yeah, the really important things. Yeah. And I think also then, having done a lot of homework and a lot of research, and had it, because a lot of times we can focus on what products we need to have, or what things we need to have, rather than having done the good class, maybe the hypnobirthing or the gentle birthing, or talk to the lactation consultant, or maybe talk to a doula, or like even just talking to other dads about their experiences, because that's, you may not want to, and you can just take these things in little snippets, or you can decide on who's going to have the good conversation for you. I suppose for another talk for us will be on what that what it looks like on the other
On the other side.
side. Yeah, when that, after the birth, and where your headspace is on all of that. So I think we leave that
Yeah.
one for another day. Have we kind of covered everything there?
I think so. That,
like,
like, I mean,
we could talk about this for an hour.
well, the thing is, we'll as we put this video out, if there's something we haven't covered, put it in the comments and ask us, and we can circle back and talk about more, because, as you
Another
say, you could talk
direction.
about
Yeah.
this subject for a long time. There's a lot of different elements, but
Yeah.
that's kind of between my experience and a little bit of what his experience was. I'm sure a lot of people might be able to
Yeah.
see a little bit of their story in it too.
Yeah. And if anybody's uncomfortable with putting a message, a
Oh
comment
yeah,
in, very happy to get direct message.
absolutely.
Myself or Pauric will be sharing the video as well. And direct message us, or you can. I'm Mamogs, so that's MAMOGS. So you'll get me on mamogs.ie if you want to send any messages on that. So yeah, so thanks for joining our dad and doula chat, and we will chat to you again soon on another topic.